Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the planning meeting of the 3rd of July, 2020 of the Macclesfield Town Council Planning Committee. And I'm Councillor Elif Terrible, who's chair of this planning committee. Welcome to you all today. Our first item on the agenda is apologies for absence.
Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. And any declarations of interest? The second item is declarations of interest.
There are none.
None,
Chair.
Well, at this point, the meeting is adjourned for public comments. And I think we have members of the public here to comment on item 19/5426M on page 3. Are you ready to make your comments, members of the public?
Yes.
The meeting is now adjourned for you. Thank you.
Do you wish me to speak now?
Yes, please.
I have lost the picture on my screen.
We can hear you.
But we can see you and hear you.
Oh, I don't know what's happened on my screen. All I've got is a Zoom message. Okay. Right. Thank you, councillors, for giving me the opportunity to speak today about this application. I am a local resident living at the end of Amberley Road, closest to the application site, which, as many of you will know, is accessible by the footpath which links Sycamore Crescent and Amberley Road. My family have been residents here for nearly 40 years. I am a chartered town planner by background, having previously been the head of planning for Macclesfield Borough and then Cheshire East. I spoke at the early meeting of the Town Council when we considered these proposals in January. Both my wife and myself have already lodged objections to this application. These are available to view on the Cheshire East website. We submitted a number of documents in December and have submitted a number of documents in June 2020 when the revised proposals were submitted, but none of the recent material has been posted onto the Cheshire East website, for which we understand there has been a technical problem with the council and Microsoft. I will aim to summarise our concerns as follows. The application is incorrect as C3 use is limited to a maximum of 6 persons. The application form clearly states that there will be 8 flats for residents. Section 16 of the application form refers. There are also many errors of fact and accuracy, as well as some omissions in the planning and design statement which accompany the original application. Some of the plans contradict each other, so it is not clear what is being proposed, and it is not clear which plans have been superseded by the recent resubmission material. The initial views of the Town Council on this application have been welcomed by the local community, and residents strongly support the Council's reasons for recommending refusal of the application. The proposed development represents a major detrimental impact on the whole Ivymead estate, but particularly so for the immediate neighbours on all sides. The creation of a block of 8 flats plus an office and communal space from an original bungalow is inappropriate in this location. The development is also on a corner site near to one of the busiest traffic junctions, the Flower Pot in Macclesfield. For the first set of plans, I set out in a planning policy statement the failure of the development to meet planning requirements as set out at national, borough and local level. The document was prepared to support the many views of residents very concerned about the potential impact on their community. The application should be refused for the following reasons. Firstly, it's an inappropriate form of development on this site and in this location. It's not sympathetic to the site, immediately adjoining neighbours, or the character or surrounding area. The development fails to meet national planning guidance as set out in the National Planning Policy Framework, sections 11 and 17 concerned with the efficient use of land, and as set out in the recently published National Design Guide of October 2019. The proposed development is contrary to the development plan for Macclesfield area, as set out in both the Cheshire East Local Plan 2017 and the Macclesfield Borough Local Plan 2004. and should be refused as not compatible with those policies. There are no material circumstances which justify otherwise. Any benefits arising from the development would cause substantial harm to the amenities of the local community. Planning permission should also be refused because it contradicts, the development contradicts the specific policies of the local plan, the Cheshire East local plan, and the Macclesfield Borough Council. I have set out the number of policies if you need to see them. Or
Excuse me, Mr. Knight, you've got to your 3 minutes and a bit beyond.
Okay, my last point is, one last point. The proposed development fails to address the supplementary planning guidance set out in the Cheshire East Borough Design Guide 2017, both in terms of the content of the application and the approach taken to preparing the application. So for all those reasons, planning permission should be refused, and we support the Town Council's previous suggested recommendations for refusal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Thank you very much. Is there another speaker?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Our home is anchored immediately behind 28 Ivy Lane on the northern aspect, with our boundaries adjoined. On the amended plans, we have been acknowledged this time but addressed incorrectly as 87 Keel Crescent. This demonstrates how unfamiliar the applicant is with our local area. We strongly object on the basis of invasion of privacy due to insufficient space between buildings. The proposal does not comply with the recommended distance requirements between habitable rooms, which is 21 metres. The drawings show there is only 13 metres between the northern aspect of 28 Ivy Lane and the rear of our house. Our privacy would be massively affected by the 3 large windows on the first floor of the northern aspect, one of which would be a full-length lounge window in one of the flats. Previous planning did not allow for windows at this level due to invasion of privacy. The windows would look into bedrooms and living areas. The photo image CO4 of the building, which shows the windows we refer to, where the people are standing, our house is literally level with them just behind the hedge. On the eastern aspect of the building, the 5 windows on the first floor would face the border hedge with a distance of only 2 metres. 2 of these windows would be lounge windows. Previously, windows on this aspect had to have obscured glass to protect ours and the adjoining bungalow's privacy. The apex of the roof is raised higher than the original plans, and with the bringing forward of one of the gables on the northern aspect beyond the current building line, this would create a dominating and overshadowing building in size and mass, which is out of character. The plans have not addressed any of the 8 objections that the Town Council highlighted previously, with the recommendation that this application be withdrawn. There is no detail on the dimensions of the plans, and the original application was to increase the property by a further 188 square metres, which is larger than the actual footprint of the original bungalow. We think these plans are possibly larger than the original ones, but the pictures and drawings are deceptive and misleading. This property has been extensively extended with 4 previous planning applications, and this proposal must exceed the percentage limit as to how much an original building can be extended, leading to overdevelopment. The application is described as C3. C3 is a group of 6 people living together as a single household and receiving care. The proposal is for 8 individual flats. The increase in noise levels, smells from 8 kitchens, light pollution, along with carers, visitors, support staff, and logistic personnel over a 24-hour period will be enormous and have a significant impact on the well-being of the immediate neighbours. Parking spaces have increased from 4 to 7. We question the manoeuvrability of the vehicles into and out of the space due to the confines of the area, and there's no disabled space. Our home is literally adjacent to this car park and would be subject to vehicle noise and pollution from exhaust fumes. With insufficient parking, this will again lead to parking on the roadside, causing a major traffic hazard at a busy junction, which is the main entry and exit to the estate. There is a proposal by the same developer within a mile radius of Ivy Lane for another 10 supported living flats in a previous public house. Is there any evidence to support the need for 18 supported living flats in such close proximity? A major concern is if the scheme fails, the developer could sell the flats as 8 individual private dwellings with no control over how many people would live in the building. The drawings actually show double beds in some of the flats. We would again ask for the Town Council to consider ours and the many other objections from the neighbours and the local residents which have been registered and reject this application. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Is there someone else to speak? 3 speakers. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you for taking time to listen to me. Having reviewed the newly submitted plans, I have to admit to being left quite confused, as there's nothing to explain why they have submitted new plans. You would think it was in response to the overwhelming amount of objections received, but I cannot see any significant improvement. There is nothing to say what parts supersede the old plans. There's no new application and no new design statement, so the new plans now contradict the original. The only additional words are a statement from ISL, who are the company who will deliver the care. They talk of working with the local social work team and being developed in consultation with commissioners from adult social care. But who are these people they refer to? There is no documentary evidence of such consultation or supporting letters from them, which I find strange. They also mention Rosewood Living, who are described as a supported living developer. According to Companies House, Rosewood Living was incorporated less than 2 months ago and is owned by the same solicitor who has purchased 28 Ivy Lane and hasn't built anything. I find this strange as well. The new plans show the removal of the dormer on the north elevation, but it has been replaced with another forward extension. There are still windows along that side that are now even closer than the dormer was and still directly looking to 87 Sycamore Crescent. I can't see how this has been an improvement. The parking is increased, but it is still not enough for 1 space per flat. It is also so compact, I don't believe there is practically enough room for cars to park in all the spaces without impacting manoeuvrability of each other and the access in and out of the property. I don't think it has been fully understood how bad the parking was when the property was a children's home. Cars dominated outside the property and all of the neighbouring side streets. Facilities like this need provision for residents, their friends and family, staff and emergency vehicles. How will that ever be accommodated in such a small area? The height of the bungalow in the new plans seems to have gone even higher, which would further shadow our garden. In addition to this intrusion, the windows in the dormer are huge. They are a full height of a person. There is a covenant on the property that states it must remain 1 or more single-storey bungalows. Nearly 100 years ago, someone was wise enough to understand what impact an imposing large building would have on the locals and wanted to protect them. Why would anyone feel that the local residents are less worthy of that protection now? The developer has not addressed any of the previously raised issues. We have not heard from them or seen them. I want to finish by saying I am not against supported living. I am very aware that there are people who desperately need support, but I am against turning 28 Ivy Lane into flats, which would have a detrimental impact on the lives and welfare of the surrounding people. We want this property to remain in the format of a family home and not to try and shoehorn 8 flats that could easily house 14 people on a tiny plot by a busy junction. If the coronavirus has taught us anything, it's that high density living is bad, especially if it's to house vulnerable people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
So if you would like to stay and observe, you may just put yourselves on mute, or you could follow it on the live streaming on YouTube.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that. We shall continue with item number 3. Minutes of the planning meeting held on the 13th of June. To be recorded as a true record. Does anybody want to? Yes, Councillor. I can't hear you.
I propose that as a true record, Chairman.
Thank you. Have we a seconder? Is there anyone else who wants to?
Councillor Edwards.
Councillor Edwards. All in favour or? Okay, thank you very much. Are there any matters arising at all from those minutes? Any matters arising? No.
There are none, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, we shall go to the observations on the planning applications. And the first one we have is planning application number 20/2297M. Does anyone want to speak on that?
Excuse me, Chair. Did you want to first discuss application
Yes, we can do.
28 Ivy Lane one?
We can do. Can
It's
I open the debate on that, please? Who would like to speak on that application?
Councillor Edwards would.
Yes, thank you very much.
If I may.
Yes.
First of all, John Knight, could you put your system on mute, please? It improves the broadband. Thank you. There's a very small typo on the portal. The third objection, if you like, it says it's number 30. In fact, it's number 28 on the portal. It should be on the portal, but that's a very small point. But I reserve my right to speak anyway about the planning. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to speak?
Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Jackson?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, well, having looked at the new plans and obviously having listened to the speakers, a lot of what they've said has been, my view, confirmed my views. I couldn't see where the differences were. Yes, there was a little bit of increase in parking, some changes with the way the development was to be built, but no what I would call improvements or no answers to the concerns that were raised by the town council. And I'm still, my view certainly hasn't changed at all. I still feel that the reasons that we gave originally for objecting and suggesting it should be withdrawn still stand. And we could, even if it came to it, we could probably add a few more reasons now. But certainly my view is, and I will be supporting that we object to this application. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Councillor Wilson.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I agree that our objections from our previous meeting on the 17th of January should still stand. Looking at the change plans, I see very little difference. Improving the car parking spaces still doesn't take the number of car parking spaces in line with what should be required under planning regulations. One of the key issues here, I feel, is the overlooking and the loss of privacy and light to other properties. Macclesfield Borough Council retained planning policy DC 38 requires residential developments to achieve a distance of between 21 and 25 metres between principal windows. It's absolutely clear that that has not been attended to here. So if we look at the objections we made in January, 1, the development is overbearing, 2, overdevelopment of the site, 3, insufficient parking, 4, loss of natural light to neighbouring properties, 5, loss of privacy to existing properties, and we've quoted not meeting the housing standard spacing between habitable rooms is documented in SADPD Housing 11. I'd like to add retains Macclesfield Borough Council policy DC 38. Proximity to a busy highway and junction, loss of amenity to neighbours, and the number of rooms exceed the limits set by use class C3. I would like to move that those continue to be our objections.
I wish to second.
I would like to speak on that, please. I would like to speak on that as the chair. In the first place, I'm mindful that this development has not been a bungalow for over 20 years. That's the first thing. It has also been a children's home or older children's home for quite a while. And I am not aware, I know the area very well, I'm not aware that the neighbors have documented. I've had some complaints that people who are standing at the corner, how their quality of life has been affected. I have not been told that. I think I'm mindful of overlooking, very mindful of that, and nearness, if that is to be looked at. I'm also thinking that unless we have planning reasons, the potential is just so weird that how do we know what the potential is, and how do we know that this is not needed for people who are vulnerable or in need? I think I will have to abstain from that, because I'm anxious to see firm planning reasons and not speculative ones. Ivy Lane has huge houses all around it, huge houses. I don't know that this is bigger than others there. I'm mindful that there are bungalows at the back and want to see those bungalows protected from overlooking and proximity. I think those are good planning reasons, but to refuse it altogether, I don't know that there are planning reasons so to do, except speculative ones. Why will people's quality of life be affected by other people? I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure that people's lives will be affected. And the need for protecting vulnerable people remains in this community. And I would like to not to be abstain from that. I will take the decision that the council gives, but I personally would like to abstain from that decision. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. You want to speak again?
Thank you, Chairman. Really, just for clarity, I think, on the comments that you've made, looking at the reasons that the council are giving for refusal, particularly number 5 on our list, loss of privacy to existing properties, not meeting the standard spacing between habitable rooms as documented in the SADPD and HOU 11, and also we've mentioned the Macclesfield Borough policy DC 38. They are planning documents which state controls over these developments. So they are specific reasons. We are quoting from the planning policy, that specific reason. Loss of amenity to neighbours is also a planning reason that is used very often.
Yeah, I'm sure of that.
I just want to make that clear, that
sure.
The council is not being speculative here. The council has got good grounds for their reasons for refusal. People
what are the yes, true.
Those are the reasons. And
what are the amenities that will be lost? Can they be documented? What are the amenities that will be lost? What are they?
I think loss of amenity.
What are they?
Loss of amenity to neighbours is usually the light.
Yeah.
Loss of light, the overlooking from other buildings, the impact on their outdoor space and their living, their house. So it's the impact on them and their area, and that's the loss of amenity. And in my view, we can justify that in our decision here and in our reason for refusal.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Is there anyone left to speak?
There was Councillor Wilson and then Councillor Edwards.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I mean, Councillor Jackson's covered much of what I was going to say. All the items I've moved as being our reasons for not supporting this application are all material planning considerations. We've also quoted from the strategic development plan and also from retained policies from Maxfield Borough Council regarding loss of privacy, which is a key issue here. And also in terms of parking, just for reference, it's Appendix C of the local plan that covers the parking arrangements. So I'm confident that the objections we have are all based on material planning considerations and can be referenced with our local planning policy.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Anyone else wants to speak?
Councillor Edwards wanted
Councillor
to speak.
Edwards.
Can you hear me? Okay. Our objections have been proposed by Councillor Wilson and seconded by me. We all seem to have a view on this planning application. Do you think we could bring it to a vote, please?
Yes, Councillor Edwards, begging your indulgence, I will bring it to a vote. We have not all agreed. Thank you. We have not all agreed because I am mindful that there are strong conditions that can be put on this, but I do not know that other people will be excluded from a life when it is not said what amenities will be lost, which we must look at, and overlooking, location, distance, all those things are very important. But the life of other people, I do not know that. I will now call for the vote, but before I call for the vote, I will abstain from that decision. So we will call for the vote, but I will abstain because I do not know that other people are not as valuable and must not be, you must uphold and embrace other people within our community and when those amenities are not threatened. I am not wanting to, I don't know that they are named, except the overlooking must be looked at. That cannot be done. Location and distance must be looked at. That must be done. But provision for other people must also be done, and I will abstain from that. So thank you. We will call for the vote now, please. Those in favor of objection? 3. Against. I will abstain from that decision. But that objection is now carried. Thank you. Thank you. We'll go on to the next one, which is application 20/2297M. And that is on page 2, forgive me. And that's the extension to the first floor flat. Anybody wants to speak on that? Any speakers? No?
Yeah, Councillor Jackson.
Councillor Jackson.
Just to say, no objection to this
Thank you.
application.
No one else? We have no objections to that. Thank you. Application 20/2288M. Does anybody want to speak on the one on Byron's Lane? Anyone? So, Councillor Edwards, you would like to speak?
No.
Councillor Wilson's going to speak.
Councillor Wilson, speak.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I want to speak in support of this application. People, if you know the area around Bradley Smithy well, you'll realise how difficult car parking arrangements are. And opportunities become available now for the occupants of 28 Bradley Smithy to build a car parking space next to their property. You'll see from the application that the application had the support of the neighbours and also the conservation officers. Conditions have been placed about materials being in keeping with the materials that the existing property is already built in, that there should be a natural stone wall and tarmac. But this is a good development for an area where parking is a significant problem. So I would move that we support this application.
Thank you. Anyone else? So there are no objections. In fact, it's supported by Councillor Wilson.
Shall I return a comment that the committee is in support of it rather than simply no objections?
In support of it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Application 20/2340M. That's the Buxton Road one. Single story extension. Anyone wants to speak on that? No? No, anyone? No? No
Right.
objections.
No objection.
Application 20/2375M. Trucks Farmhouse. Any speakers? Yes, Councillor Jackson. Please.
Yes, on this one, I have no objection, but I think I'd like to just make the comment that we have no objection, but this would be subject to hours of construction. There's a condition for hours of construction, and there's a flood risk informative. So I would just like to say that we have no objection, subject to those being carried out.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? So can we, no objection, subject to those hours of, thank you. Application 20/2388M, Rugby Drive. Any speakers on that? No? No objection then?
No objections then.
Thank you. Application 20/2149M, Delamere Drive. Signs. Single detached house. Lapsed planning. What do you think about that? Anybody? Lapsed planning for a single detached house. Any objection?
Yeah.
Councillor Jackson, yeah?
Yes, just a comment. I have no issue with this at all. It was approved originally. As far as I believe planning permissions lapse after 3 years. So obviously this person has not been able to make a start on this plan. And having lapsed, they obviously have to reapply, but it's just a copy of the original and quite straightforward. So I have no objection.
Thank you. Anyone else? I have no objection. No, no objection. Thank you. Application 20/1924M. Victoria Road, location 8 Oak House. Single dwelling. Yes, Councillor Jackson.
Thank you. Again, with this one, I have no objection, but there is a condition for hours of construction, and I think we just need to reinforce that.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, no objection. Hours of construction. Application 20/2456M, change of use. The class D2 gymnasium, Brindleway, Lime Green. Any speakers on that? Any
No.
speakers on that? No? No objection? No. We move on to application 20/2152M. Sorry, replacement roof on Gosworth Road, 106. Any objection? I don't know that they actually needed an application for that, but no objection. No. Application 20/2427M, existing garage on 77 Bertels Road, new extension and new front porch. Anybody wants to speak on Bertels Road? No? Thank you. No objection. Application 20/2346M on Congleton Road, playing fields. Was there a previous one? The approval is required for a high telecoms column. Does anyone want to speak on that one? Anyone? Councillor Jackson. You with us?
Thank you, Chairman. This is a re-site or a new site for this telecommunications mast. I believe it was originally intended to, or an application had been made for it to sit at the end of Pennington's Lane, and that was refused. And so now they are putting in an application for it to be on the car park across the road there on Congleton Road by the playing fields. I personally have a concern about this. It's going to be placed, the proposal is that it's placed in the car park by the playing fields, and I feel that that could have quite a serious impact on the public use of the playing fields by reducing the amount of car parking space. So I personally feel, and I would want to object to this on the siting of the mast here and also its appearance, because I'm aware that there is an intention to improve the existing sports facilities there, and they are the only playing fields in the local Macclesfield area for public use. And I think this telecommunications mast would have quite a detrimental impact on the use of those playing fields on that facility. So I will be objecting to this. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As Councillor Jackson said, this is a bit of a long-running saga in terms of the siting of this mast, which is required to provide mobile phone and digital support to this part of Macclesfield. The original application was due to be in a residential area on Pennington's Lane, which is almost, well, just slightly across the road from the site at the moment. And that was objected to by residents, and it was, in the end, it was not cited there. So this is the alternative site for a mast which is required, where we all use our mobile phones and digital technology. And recognise the point that Councillor Jackson is making, but this site has support from the local residents because it's a car park behind the trees there. It's far less obtrusive than being in the centre of a residential area. The car park itself, the playing fields are a large area, and the car park could be expanded if necessary. It's quite a significant size playing field, which clearly is a very great benefit. But as one of the councillors for Macclesfield South Ward, where this is cited, I have had no complaints or objections raised with me as the ward councillor. Indeed, the comments on the public site are welcoming this as being a better location than where it was before. So I do recognise the points that Councillor Jackson is very well made, but this is the best alternative for a mobile phone site, which is required to enable us all to use our mobile phones and communicate with each other, which has become even more important during the sort of COVID times. So there's no objections from residents locally that have been raised with me, and there are none on the planning portal. So on the basis it's a lesser of two evils, I will be supporting this to continue to support the residents who have objected to this mass being in a residential area.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other speaker? Councillor Edwards.
I just wish to second that proposal.
Sorry, can I just clarify, you're seconding Councillor Jackson's objection or Councillor Wilson's non-objection?
I'm with Councillor Wilson on this.
Right.
I'm supporting the application.
Thanks. Shall we go to the vote on this application? For the application. Against?
Right.
That application is carried.
No application. Sorry, no objection then from the committee.
Where are we? We are at application 20/2158M. Listed building planning consent. Do we just refer that to the officer for listed building? Are we agreed on the out? Councillor Jackson wants to speak.
Yes. Looking at the planning application, reading the documents, Andrew Ramshall, the conservation officer, has already given his approval to this. So I think, you know, I would just move that we say, you know, we state no objection subject to the conservation officers.
Officers, yes, of course.
Thank you.
Shall we do that? Thank you. Thank you very much. We go on to the next one. Application, am I on? Application 20/246M, Hale Close, Macclesfield. They want a garage conversion. Are there any speakers with that one? No? 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 No objection? No objection. Application number 20/2336M, two-story extensions in Byron's Lane. Are there any speakers? No? No objection then. No? Application 20/2265M, an outline application to convert from a commercial to residential in Brook Street to match and extend the third floor to create 14 number 1 and 2 bedroom self-contained apartment. Councillor Jackson and Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. This is on Central Ward.
Yeah.
And I welcome the residential element to this. We do need more housing in the town. It's a good use of those upper floors. It is just for the the first floor and second and the third floor, which will be a new floor. So we would have 14 units there. There is no parking with it. That is always a problem, having residential in the town centre, but it's a situation that we have to deal with, and the residents coming into these properties are aware of the situation. They're mindful of it when they take on these properties. We either leave those, you know, those floors empty, or we convert them, and we have to take that hit really on. We can't, you know, we can't provide parking for them all. I'm quite happy with this. I think it's a good use of those floors above what was a restaurant, and may well come back as a restaurant in future time. We just have to wait and see. Subject to any conservation area or the you know, heritage report on it, I'm quite happy to have no objection to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, could I just ask a question? Perhaps Councillor Jackson will know the answer. The Civic Society mentions about the cladding on it. Should we be concerned in any way about that? I'm in favour of the development, but I just wonder about the cladding.
Frankly, I don't particularly have an issue with that. And being in the area it is in, I believe there would be comment by the conservation officer if there was a problem on that. I have not seen anything from conservation on it, but I don't have an issue with it personally.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have no objections. Can we record that we have no objections, don't you? Application 2457M at 77 Gawsworth Road. Proposed rear and front facing single-story extensions. It's in the area where I serve, and these are huge houses that are with lots of land, and I see no reason to refuse. So I will be supporting that application. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak, but I have no objection to it. No objection. Propose application 20/24504M, signage for the King's School on Alderley Road. Anybody wants to speak? No? No objection? Application 20/2335M, relocation of boiler, creation of extra room at the towers. Does anybody want to speak on the towers? No? Councillor Jackson? Yes?
Just to say again, no objection to this. The conservation officer, I believe, is involved, and so it's really just a matter of no objection subject to conservation officer report.
Thank you. I have no objection. And anybody else? Nice. No objection. Application 20/2397M. That's again listed building consent for replacement of and repair of window. Councillor Jackson, yeah?
Thank you. Yes, this one, again, looking at this application, they're replacing and repairing window frames matching to match the existing, and doing a lot of work for maintenance and repair. And it's great to see somebody who's actually, you know, giving that nod to the history of the building making sure that all the materials are the right materials to retain the heritage that we have in the town. And I was very pleased to see this and the level of work that and the detail that's being taken to bring it back to and for it to look as it did many years ago. And I'm sure, well, I'm aware that again, Conservation Officer is working with them, and he will give a report on it. So again, no objection, subject to the Conservation Officer report.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? No? No objection. Thank you. Application 20/2544M. Change of use?
Excuse me, Chair, I think you might have skipped one.
Have I skipped College
Yeah.
Court?
Yes.
All right, demolition of F16 garage. Plus 2-story rear extension. 2-story extension plus kitchen. That's application 20/2452M at College Court. It says College Court and Chapel Court. Anyone to speak on this? Anyone to speak on that? College Court. No? No objection. So we have one on 81 Park Lane. Application 20/254M. Councillor Jackson would like to speak on that.
Thank you, Chairman. This again is on Central Ward. I know the site well. It was previously the CVS offices on Park Lane, and was altered to become a 7-bed HMO. That's a while ago now, and this has now come back to just extend it further to an 8-bed house of multiple occupation. I was a little concerned when I saw this, feeling that a 7-bed property was, you know, I've had no objections, there's been no problems with this, but to then move to an 8-bed, to put an extra bed on, I just, my first thoughts were, is it overdevelopment of the site? But having had no objections or discussions from and contact from any of the residents in that area, then I feel that I can't object to this, really. So I'm happy to see what and hear what the other councillors feel on this. Whether they think it's overdevelopment or not, but we do need the houses. We do need, you know, the rooms for people. We need the accommodation, and we need to encourage accommodation for people. We've just you know, said we don't object to the housing down on Brook Street, near Sunderland Street. I do appreciate that these are much smaller, just single unit rooms, and so there is a concern there, and with shared facilities, whether having another bedroom to make it up to 8 is a step too far. So I'd be very interested to hear what the other councillors think on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. I share, as a chair, I'll tell you, I share Councillor Jackson's concern. I really do. I feel that extending HMOs is extending bad health, bad everything, bad initiatives. No chance. The vulnerable remains vulnerable. I don't see a planning reason for refusal, but I fear an extension of HMOs is condemning a number of people to just poor living, poor growth, poor health, and I know we can't, I don't think we can object. I would just like to abstain. I'm sorry. I don't agree that you can extend that sort of living infinitum as a principle. And again, Councillor Jackson, I don't know that we can object. I think I will just abstain. Thank you. Anyone else to speak? No.
Well, listening to what you have just said, would you like me to return from the committee, no objections, but that you do have concerns on the health and the welfare of the residents?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes. I am just, I just feel this is a step backwards. So thank you for that.
Councillor Wilson wished to speak. Sorry, Chair.
Councillor Wilson wish to speak on it? No? Yeah? Yeah?
Yes, I do. I do agree with the making a record of our concerns about the homes of multiple occupancy. I also agree there are no material planning objections for us to make on this application, but it's quite clear that the rooms are, the accommodation is very, very small and tight, with communal areas for eating, etc. So I do think that we should be making responsive support, because there isn't really any other way to go in terms of planning policy. But I do agree with the suggestion that we are concerned about the implications and the impact of homes of multiple occupancy, and the very, very small size of the apartments, the rooms rather than apartments.
Yes, rooms. Thank you. Are we dealing with this as listing our concerns?
I was going to return no objection, but that the committee has concerns on the health and the welfare of the residents, with the extra bedrooms part of the development.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Jackson and Councillor Wilson. Thank you. We go to application 20/2575M, Tidrington Drive. This is to form a larger kitchen and snug. Anyone wants to speak on that?
Councillor Edwards.
Yes, Councillor Edwards, can we hear you?
Thank you. I'd like to read an objection from my fellow councillor Lloyd Roberts that I received very late last night, and I'd like to read it, if I may, complete. Dear Chair, committee members, I would like to draw the application number 20/2575M, 8 Tidrington Drive, Macclesfield, to the attention of the Planning Committee. This item is on the agenda for the meeting on Friday, 3rd of July. I apologise for the lateness of my letter to you. I only today, Thursday, received a call from a concerned resident querying the application and wanted me to follow it up on their behalf. And I would like the committee to raise the following points for discussion to be considered in determining its response to the application. I oppose the application on the following grounds. 1, although in principle the residents are not against any development, they believe that this particular application would, if approved, be an overdevelopment of this site in its size and scale. 2, should this application be granted, it will almost certainly result in neighbouring residents' loss of light and privacy. 3, the architect's drawings show the houses 6, 8 and 10 Tidrington Drive in a straight line, when actually looking at the location and block plans on the Cheshire East website, they are tapered, meaning more light and privacy is lost to the neighbouring houses if this application is approved in its current form. 4, Had the two-storey block been put on the other side of the property, nearer to number 6, this would have had no bearing on that house at all, whereas the proposed elevation impacts to a greater degree due to an overbearing size being so close to number 10 Tithington Drive. I hope the committee takes on board these points in reaching their recommendation to Cheshire East Planning Department. Yours sincerely, Lloyd Roberts. Is it possible for you to call up the site plan for this, and you can see what I mean? Thank you, Harriet.
Can you see that?
I can see that, yeah.
So do you want the location plan or the block plan?
Or the location plan, I think it is. Yes, if you look at the oh, it's gone upside.
I'm just trying to reposition it if it will be.
Right, yeah. Yes, if the extension had been put on the other side of the house, there's a big space there, whereas the application for number 8 is very close to house number 10. And that's what Councillor Roberts is getting at, is that if they'd only just put the extension on the other side, there'd be no problem at all. But I've read his objections, and I open it for debate if anybody wants to talk about it. Thank you.
Referring to the proximity, do we know the exact distance from the other house?
There's a scale at the bottom which you might be able to go off.
Yes, please.
Well,
no.
The scale's here at the bottom. I don't know if that assists you.
Because it looks far enough away, but it's near to the line, but it looks far enough away from that house, from the other building. It looks far enough away.
Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just struggling to understand where that extension could have actually been built, you know, what other position it could have been built in. Looking at this plan in front of me, it's where, I'm not quite sure where they mean if it had been built on the other side. It looks to me that it's built at the back of the house, and the only other option would have been to build it on the front of the house. I can't see, unless I'm just can't, you know, I'm not understanding the plan, but to me, that's the only place that looking at this plan, whether there's another plan that would give us a better view, I don't know. But that just seems to me that there isn't an option there for the householder to build it anywhere else. So that's just my comment for the moment.
Don't think that gives you anything extra, does it?
No, maybe the proposed floor plan might help.
Sorry, this laptop is quite slow because it's doing an awful lot of things at once today.
Yeah.
I think it's far enough away myself. I think the distance is cannot be questioned. It's far enough away from the other house.
Councillor Wilson wanted to speak.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The retained policy DC 38 of Macclesfield Borough Council would say that where it's a blank wall onto a blank wall, i.e. windows not overlooking, the distance should be 14 metres. Where there's overlooking between walls, for a building of this, a two-storey building, it will be 21 to 25 metres, as we discussed in respect of a application previously. So in terms of overlooking and issues like that, I can't see that there is a material planning application there in terms of distance. I think as it's Titherington Ward, it may be appropriate for Councillor Roberts to make his own objection as a ward member. There are currently no objections on the planning portal, as Councillor Edwards has said. So unless we can identify a material planning objection, I think it's as with the previous application we discussed, it's difficult. Well, you can't object if there's no material planning objection to make, except in Councillor Roberts making, submitting his concerns as a ward councillor.
No. I don't think we can comment on that. Is there any other comment that we would like to make on that? Councillor Edwards, are you okay with having read the letter?
Yes, I feel it's only fair that I abstain on this matter.
You'll abstain, okay? Shall we call for the vote now? Who is in favour?
Of not objecting, this is, isn't it?
Not objecting then. And one abstention. Thank you. I think we've come to the end there, except do we want to take 6 and 7 together? As we're getting a visit from a potential date.
Would you like to continue with the supplementary planning observations?
Have I got them? Wait a minute.
I emailed them through.
Was that the Bertels Road one?
There are 3. There's a Hallifield Crescent and 2 on Brunswick.
I don't think I have those,
They'll be on your email, Chair.
Can you read them out, please?
I can, and if you need to look at them on screen, do let me know.
Yes, yes.
So there's application 22633M, which is a drop curb outside 17 Hallifield Crescent. Excuse me if I pronounced that wrong.
Yes, I did get that. No, I have no objection to that.
No objection.
And the other one?
Is 22607M, 33 Brunswick Terrace, replacement and enlargement of single-storey rear extension, and its accompanying application 22608M, which is the listed building consent for the same property, same bit of work.
We have, yes, Councillor Edwards?
I think it's worth noting that the Heritage are in favour of this, and they particularly like the sympathetic work needing to be done to it. So I'm in favour of it.
We have no objection then. Is there another one?
That's the end of the planning application observations.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, we shall go to item 6 then.
I have a verbal update for 6 and 7, which came to me after the agenda was published. I've had a response from Cheshire East Planning Department about organising it won't be a face-to-face meeting for obvious reasons. They have suggested me 2 possible dates.
The 9th and the 16th.
There is the next Thursday at 11 o'clock, which is the 9th.
Yeah. Or the 16th.
Or the 16th was on offer as well. If those don't suit, I will return and we will try and agree another date where all parties are available.
Thank you.
I
will let you know if how those dates suit me. And I guess we will all let Harriet know which date suit her. Thanks very much.
I think Councillor Wilson wished to speak.
Yes.
I can do both dates. I can let you know now.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what dates I can do. I'll let you know.
Councillor Jackson.
I'm just for information, I would only be available for the 9th. The 16th, I have another Zoom meeting that morning.
Anyone else?
I'm afraid that I can't confirm either date, as my son's just walked off with my phone.
All right, well, we'll clarify a date outside. Sorry, Councillor Wilson.
That's really welcome news. Thank you very much indeed for continuing to chase it. I'm glad we've got a potential meeting in the diary. At least hopefully we can go for the 9th, which is the date that Councillor Jackson can do. I think we have been marking time for a long time on these 2 issues, and I'm very pleased to hear we've got a suggested date and look forward to the meeting taking place as soon as possible.
I am better for the 16th, but I'll try and I have adult social care on the 9th. I probably will, if most people can do the 9th, I will have to make an apology for adult social care. Well, I'll see how that goes, huh?
I'll send you an email after the meeting.
Yes, thank you.
We can hopefully come up with a date when everybody's available.
Yes, okay, thanks. The next one is to just a note of the appeal for Bertels Road. Has everybody had a copy of that notice? Yes, and that's just for noting that there's an appeal.
No, it was
Edwards wish to speak.
To consider commenting, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. I find it, while we've been having this meeting, I've had a similar notice in my ward of an appeal. I don't really understand it. This one has come back before us for 207 Bertels Road. There's no change. There's no, they're not doing anything. They're not changing anything. They're just appealing against it. And we would obviously have exactly the same objections when it comes back. And the same with the one in my ward. We were against it before and we're against it now. But anyway, I note the appeal that's coming in. Thank you.
I have no comment to make. I don't think I will endorse either way. I have no comment to make because being against something then and now is not my way of dealing with anything. But I have no comment to make. If that has to be, I have no comment to make because the Secretary of State will make the ruling.
Can I just propose that we note the document?
Yeah, that's all we do. Yes, I will be noting the document. I have no comment to make.
Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, that's just what I'd got my hand up to say. You know, we just record that we actually note the appeal.
Yeah.
And I think in general, if we get notification of any appeal against the decision, it's really just for us to note. I don't think we would comment because we've commented previously.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
as has been said, we would have no reason to want to change our view on it. So, yeah, just to note it.
Thanks. Any members' items? I don't know that we have members' items on this. None? No members' items. And with the date and the time of the next meeting, please. We have it as the 24th of July. Thank you. And thank you all. I thank everybody for attending and thank the residents for putting in their comments. And I will now close the meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.